and please place it in the chat. So the recording is now on, and we can begin. We can get started when the Oluwo that did the divination is able to get in, then he can share his as well. I would ask, if at all possible, that you turn your cameras on. We need to see who's here, who's there, and otherwise, if you are able to. I understand some of you may be at work and may not be able to. But if you can, please do so. Let's see. Someone had their hands up and then they put it down. Let's see. So with Otura Meji, does anyone want to go ahead and share anything in particular?
I can begin.
Baba, would you like to say something?
Just in response to your question, I have, my my insights on Otura Meji.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, and I will strive to be concise, but you know how.
I understand.
Now, see, I've broken down the Odus over the decades into their proverbial statements. Okay. But that's just my way. So you're not going to
okay.
hear.
We understand different people have different
stories.
approaches
Yes.
and lineage.
All right. So Otura brings about what has been revealed to me some time ago, the sign of the Ankh. If you look at the signature, what we might call, light, dark, light, light, and we fill that in, we see the Ankh. Now, what that brings about, because what the Ankh symbolizes, is the womb, and the importance of the womb, physically and metaphysically speaking, must be embraced seriously. Now, on a metaphysical note, okay, we have come from wombs, our ancestral lineage, our bloodlines, our maternal legacy is of the utmost importance in this so do. That does not negate the paternal, but we are focused here and now on the womb. So it's the mothers, it's the lineage of we as a people who have borne the weight of enslavement, but in actuality, it's just a moment in the time of our existence. And though we are focusing in on our liberation, now psychologically speaking, okay, as well as political, we must not forget, according to the Odu, a greater truth. And that greater truth is we have history, we have culture. And as the Odu continues, that history and culture braided into the womb of we as a people must be more so taught, more so actualized, and more so brought into the being of our people. Yes, we are ceremonial. Yes, we are ritual. Yes, we make our bows, but we must also teach. We must also bring into Ifa and Isheshe historical reverence and relativity that bespeaks our enslavement, but more so bespeaks who we are as a culture, who we are as a people, who we are as nations. You see, Ifa is a composite of continental wisdom, sages, traveled, Wise men and wise women sat and conversed. Orumila codified it, and Orumila is a spoken truth within the Odu, as well as Ogun. But we seem to, unfortunately, not place a great emphasis on culture, learning the culture, not just kind of copying the culture, but peeling back layers. And it's like looking at an African statue and seeing the statue, but not seeing the mindset that created it and the importance of its symbolism. Okay? So the Odu is calling for greater truth, of us living a greater truth, of us being a greater truth. And the sacrifices and the efforts that we put in are not just for the here and now, obviously. They are a continuing rippling effect into the future of our people. We are the priestly of our people, first and foremost. Okay. The Odu also speaks of outside religious influences, specifically, okay, um, coming from, again, outside, foreign to the African concept, and how when we were trying to figure out what these people are doing and where they're coming from, it wasn't always the submission to it as propagation and propaganda, okay, would have us believe. And at the same time, it wasn't always like a war, a physical war. There were, again, priests and priestesses who were sitting down and saying, we are trying to really figure this out, because we may be defeated on the battlefield, but we are not defeated within the spiritual realms. Okay. And the struggle against that happening, the defeat of our spirit, is something that the Odu was calling for us to be very, very cognizant of. Now, it's not saying that we should, turn against our ancestral experiences, because we do have ancestors who were Muslims and we have ancestors who were Christians. But what this Odu was saying is that perhaps we're not shelving it in the right category. It has become too great of an impact upon us. And now that we have a sense of authority over self, we might consider, okay, examining how much of it is really governing us, or are we perceiving Ifa through Eurocentric or Arabic eyes and perspectives? This is what the Odu is saying. Okay? And of course, I'm in great accord with it. I've been at this for 50 years. Trust me, you know. The Odu also states that we should refrain from that which is harmful, specifically foods. We are at the mercy of the medical profession. We are at the mercy of Western pharmaceuticals. The Odu states in order to gain our health and avert the big prevailing sickness that our people suffer, that we must, as the priestly, concern ourselves more and more about or with the impact of food. I've been working with people for years, and anything from blending to juice therapies to herbs have proved very helpful in the upliftment, kind of like a Dr. Sebi kind of energy. But we are capable, less fast food, more natural food, being cognizant of it. And I'm taking it right from the Odu. Okay? And I'll just do two more. Now, what's interesting about Otura also, okay, is that not only you strives staying close to Ifa, not deserting Ifa, okay, being there despite striving for riches, exercising wisdom. Wisdom is more beneficial to the people than wisdom. Okay. In closing, Otura is the one who digs up, the one who unearths, the one who basically resurrects. And this is so apropos for and regarding the purpose of the divination. Okay. We here in the United States, the Odu is embracing or asking us to embrace our own resurrection, our own being unearthed, dug up, so that we can be the living essence of our ancestral reality. Now, we have to determine what ancestral means to us. And again, what eyes are we looking at that from? Because from what I'm seeing, a lot of it is basically the same stuff. And I use stuff, in quotation marks. But what are we really seeing? What are our studies actually revealing? Otura is asking us to dig ourselves out of captivity of mind, captivity of spirit, awesome, to unearth ourselves, okay, so that we can stand as guiding principles to our people specifically and to humanity at large. Okay, so this is Otura, just coming at it, from my little humble spot in the Ifa cosmic realm. Okay.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you. Thank you, Modupuel.
Modupuel.
Next one is Adetayo Efum Bukola. I cannot hear you.
Oh, sorry. I just realized I was on mute.
Okay.
So from Otura Meji, so in one act, I'm, virtually touching my head to the mat, saluting all the elders on the call. And just to introduce myself, my name is Oluwo Ifakolade, from my lineage from Kuta under Araba Ifa Topa Kenwande. So what I have to add to Otura Meji, in one aspect, Ifa says, Akuru Mangbele, Diafun Ere Aye, Abowo Kan Fun Torun, Ebony Fanikoshe, Ekuru Akara Timoje, Iya Mi Tison, Akuru Mangbele, Mama Kudegbenu, Akuru Mangbele, Ire Iku, Ire Aje, Ire Aya, Ire Oko, Ire Omo, Ati Gbogbo Ire Timoje, Iya Mi Tison, Akuru Mangbele, Mama Kudegbenu, Akuru Mangbele. So this one here, if I was speaking about a lot of, mental health aspects, depression, suicidal tendencies, things like that. So I'll just tell briefly like what the verse is talking about and then apply it to, us as a community. So this verse is speaking about someone who was contemplating suicide. They were so depressed, so fed up with life that they were going to throw away their Egbe shrines, get rid of them, and basically kill themselves, right? So the verse is saying, Mama ku degbenu, don't throw away your Egbe and die, right? And it's because it's your Egbe that will uplift you, whatever things that, this person is lamenting about, that's causing them to be depressed or to want to, give up in life in the first place. It's their Egbe that will uplift them. And so, for us as a community, there'll be a lot of depression, sadness, even suicidal ideations and things like that. And it makes sense with what's going on in this country, what's going on in the world. The economy is bad. It's a lot of internal issues related to oppression, things like that. And so I would say that as we're feeling those impacts, that weight, that heaviness, lean on Egbe very heavily. Pray to your Egbe very heavily. Give offerings to your Egbe. Egbe initiation, if this is someone's Odu, is even recommended. Because your Egbe are going to be your saving grace. That's going to pull you out of, pull us as a community out of that darkness, out of that depression, and things like that. So that's one aspect. Another aspect, and I think the Bible before me, touched on this aspect too. There's another aspect where Ifa says, Alafia, lau, diafu baba imale, abiewo sege lorun, eku ire lonsun, eboni fanikose, emi afi aye Ifa se ofeje, tewure, emi ofi aye Ifa se ofeje, tewure, igbin ki n legun, ọ̀gẹ̀dẹ̀ kì í lẹ́gun, ẹ̀yìn adìẹ kì í lẹ́gun, ẹyẹ tó bá yẹ láyé jù ni wọ́n ń pè ní ẹyẹlé, tewure, emi afi aye Ifa se ofeje, tewure. So as the Bible before me spoke about, this is one verse that is speaking about those other religions as well. And so I won't go into the aspect about Islam that this verse is speaking about. But the main point here is that, someone with this Odu is in a lot of stress, conflict, difficulty, things like that. And they need to, come to Ifa and do Ebal for softness, for coolness, relief, tranquility, things like that. As the Bible before me touched on, there's an aspect where, maybe this person is practicing outside religions such as Islam and things like that, but it's not working for them in life. And Ifa, traditional religions is a thing that's going to also help bring them relief and softness. I won't go into the whole aspect of Islam, because people go back and forth about many verses from this Odu which speak about that. So again, Ifa is, speaking on what's happening around us. A lot of stress, a lot of conflict, a lot of back and forth going on with us as a community. We're living in a society where, the institution of the state itself, does not want us to prosper. So again, we need to feed Ifa. There's an aspect where Ebo will be done. Some of the things that were mentioned in the verse: egg, bananas, snails, right? And metaphorically, it speaks about how these things do not have bones. Igbin, kin, legun, these things do not have bones. They represent softness. So they'll be used as Ebo elements for softness, so our lives can be soft, easy, and we can resist the weight of oppression and things like that. Again, turn to Ifa, not necessarily practicing foreign religions. I'll just speak to one or two more aspects. There's an aspect, I won't chant the whole verse, but it's speaking about honoring and respecting women. This many people spoke to that one. It's no coincidence that this is aligning with Otura Meji also falling. It's the aspect. This is one of the Odus that I was taught where Ikbese that we give to the Iyami is born. This is one of those Odus where Orumila, long story short, he went to Ifa. Ifa told him to honor and respect women. Do not look down on women. Orumila said, "What? Like, as powerful as I am, just look at me. I'm this big, powerful man. Like, what can a woman do to me?" So he didn't do the Ebal he was told to do. As a result of not doing it, everything fell apart for him. He lost his clients, his house, everything. And so he's at the point of poverty. He goes back to Ifa. He says, "Hold on, what's that offering you told me to do?" And so finally he does. The offering is essentially Ipese to the Iyami. He's told to put it somewhere by a tree or at the crossroads or something. But the key part is he wants to hide and see who's going to collect the offerings. So he leaves it there. He goes, he hides behind a rock. And as he's noticing, it's a bunch of women that are coming to collect this offering. And he realizes that he knows a lot of these women. These are the women from the community. These are his aunts, his this, his that, that are very familiar to him. And so there he learns not to look down on women, not to underestimate women, not to disrespect women, because, you know, again, it's women that give birth to us. You know, before we can be whoever, we can be Orumila himself in life. You know, we can be king, CEO, this, that. But a woman first had to give birth to us. So I would say, you know, as a community, we should be honoring and respecting women a lot this year. It's doubling down on what Otura Meji is saying. There's other aspects I can speak to. There's aspects where Ifa speaks about feeding the Orisha of the mouth. Because, you know, in Ifa, what's the Orisha called? Ulu Bobo Tiribo is what we call the Orisha of the mouth. Feeding the Orisha of the mouth. So sharing in some of the ebo with the community to prevent gossip and things like that. There's other aspects I can speak to about litigation. Yeah, I'll leave it there. The very last thing I'll say is conflict between elders and youth. You know, we should value, respect each other. We all have something to offer. It should not be a year where we're leading with ego and arrogance and things like that. So I'll touch my head.
Asheo, thank you very much for sharing. The Oluwo who did the divination is now here, and I'm going to spotlight Oluwo Ifakolade so that he can share the messages.
Ahora boy, how's everyone?
Boy,
Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. Boy, I pay homage to all the elders in the room who all contributed to all our Ifa perspective and understanding of how it is shaped here in the United States. So I thank you all so much. I don't know what was said before, but I just wanted to highlight some of the verses and the messages that I shared earlier, and also some of verse that the ebo that we pulled from. So this first one, I'm not going to chant the whole thing. I'm just going to do a little bit of it. Otura Meji koso musical instrument is it that sounds like a gong. The sound of bembe drum is louder than that at the back of the drummer. You have sent me on an errand, and I have gone. You have sent me on a journey, and I went. This was a particular journey you are sending me on. It is filled with travails. These were Ifa's messages to Orumila when going to heaven to learn. He was advised to offer Ebo. He complied. Indeed, it is difficult to be an Ifa practitioner. For someone to prepare land for cultivation without going back to plant anymore, yes, it is difficult. Ifa is difficult to practice. So this is the verse where I was talking about three major comments that Olodumare had given to Orumila. He was traveling from heaven to earth, from earth to heaven, excuse me. And when he made this journey, his wife was pregnant, and it took him years to get to Orun. By the time he gets there, Olodumare gives him three statements and tells him that he needs to meditate on them and come up with a different meaning of each for 1,000 different meanings. So one meaning a day for 1,000 days. So the first one is when the river is filled to the brim, do not forge across. When the second one is when the wind is strong, do not stand next to a tree. And the last is basically not to get angry without seeing all sides of the situation. Essentially, in the process, Oruma comes back with the rich man of earth, the rich man of heaven, and he makes it back to his home. Both the rich man of earth and heaven die as a result of not following the advice and not following the wisdom. And I'm kind of paraphrasing to kind of make it short. But once Orumila gets home, he sees his wife in bed with what looks like to be another man. And essentially, that was his own child, and he was going to harm his wife and that child. And Ifa is basically saying, look at things from all perspectives, be very slow to anger. So, in terms of that, the main warnings, not only for us, but also things that we can see that our government is not doing. Our government is being flippant. Our government is being quick to anger, quick to pop off. We, on the other hand, we cannot do that. We have to heed the warning of when when we see that there's going to be problems and trouble or conflict and confusion, we need to just back away and go in the other direction. When we're in a situation where things are getting heated and it's about to go wrong, it's about to go left, we need to be the ones to calm things down. And if we know it's going to be a crazy thing, don't even enter into that discussion. So that also means engaging in, like political debates, issues. We do what we do. Ashe, we're doing that. Another verse that I wanted to share, I'm not going to go into the whole thing. I'm going to give bits and pieces of this. Ifa says, Otura Meji, the travelers you could not catch up with, and the travelers behind that you refuse to wait for. If one cannot catch up with those in front, one needs to wait for those behind. These are Ifa's declarations to Obaluaye, to Eshu Odara, to Iami Oshoronga, and to Orumila when coming from heaven to earth. So in this Odu, what was happening is that Orumila, Iami Oshoronga, Eshu Odara, and Obaluaye were coming from heaven to earth. And in the process, Olodumare had a special mission for each of them. And Olodumare says to Obaluaye, I want you to give money. And Obaluaye is like, nah, I don't want to be the one to bestow money on people. I want to be the one to drain their pockets with illness. Also, Eshu Odara, Olodumare is, I want you to go and be the one who brings people's spouses. And Eshu Odara says, no, I don't want to be that one. I want to be the one that make people break up. Iyamiyo Shoronga, if Olodumare says, I want you to be the one to bring children. And Yami says, no, I want to be the one to make sure that women don't give birth to kids. And so all of those things, those special tasks were then given to Orumila. Orumila comes from heaven to earth. He arrives and he's blessing people, and people are receiving so many good things. As a result of that, those individuals, Obaluaye, Eshoda, Yami Oshoronga, were spending spiritual missiles at Orumila. He had bad dreams. He went for Ifa consultation. And the unique thing about this verse and also this Odu is that Ifa told Orumila to serve them, and serve them in the sense of giving them the things that they want. What I mean by that is sharing with them. Orumila shared a woman that wanted to marry him, Agberu. And Orumila, this is the verse where Orumila hands Agberu, who he had not married, to Eshu, introduces Eshu to her, and that becomes Eshu's wife. Iyami, Orumila hands one of his daughters. He says, this is your auntie, raise her. And then he gives Obaluaye money. Essentially, what Ifa is saying here is that as we're doing this work, we too can be like Orumila. We can't be like this government. We also have to practice community, even in the event of people that we don't agree with, and also even in the event of people who actively want to harm us. This is very unique because Orumila served them, and that's where the Ebo, where we were talking about with the 3 okete, 3 plates, 3 epo, 3 roosters. And this is the thing that Orumila used to serve Eshu. The verse goes further on to say, Eshu Olaolu, please take this okete do not take human life. All my wives, they belong to you. Obaluaye, please take this okete. Do not take human life. All my wives, all my money, excuse me, they belong to you. Iamio Shoronga, please take this okete. Do not take human life. All of my children, they belong to you. As a result of this, all of those forces then began to look at Orunmila as their leader. And this is also a verse where when we cast Ifa, and then we also check with Ifa to see what Iami wants. We check what Eshu wants. We check what Obaluaye wants through the divination process. This is also what that verse is talking about, how Orunmila essentially becomes centralized. So essentially, the message here is those things that we need to be strong forces for good, and we need to be strong forces of unity. And along with that, as we're doing that, it's a binary opposition to what the government is presenting us. Along with that, in doing that and servicing the community, we as Ifa followers, Ifa practitioners will become we'll become leaders and we'll become centralized within the community. People will look to Ifa. They'll look to us and be like, oh, that's what Ifa looks like. That's what this tradition looks like because we're doing the right thing. Along with this, Ifa is saying that there are three enemies that are very close to us. They know our numbers, they know our address, they know all of those things, and they really know how to get to us because Obaluaye, Iami, Eshu essentially were like Orumila's. In this verse, it's like they're siblings, they're family members. So Ifa is saying that the people, the individuals who are opposing us are also very close. And then the last Ebo that was prescribed was Ebo of one he goat, and we sliced the head into 5 pieces. And the other aspect of that is if I did not accept that Ebo, the other Ebo would have been 5 he goats. We offer Ebo with that. So what Ifa is essentially saying is that there's negative energy, negative people who are opposing many of us and the good that we want to do in this world, coming from at least 5 different directions. I say 8 because of the other 3. The other thing about this Odu is that we also must be very careful, be very mindful not to rush in with anger and flippant words. And last but not least, I wanted to add this Odu also says that for all of us to maintain and keep ourselves safe, we need to know what our taboos are. We've covered some of the taboos of not spacing out eating times, not to fast, some of those things. But along with that, Ifa is saying that we need to be very aware, very mindful of what are our spiritual poisons, because it's a very heightened sense, and it's very sensitive now in that sense that we could derail ourselves by not only doing the things that are taboo in Otura Meji, but also the thing that is taboo for us. So that there's a very important verse and story associated with knowing your taboo and not breaking that taboo, because that breaking that taboo will open us up to weakness. So we have a lot of spiritual power at this time, and we will be extremely blessed. I'm sure the Ebo is being offered, and may Olodumare support what we're doing. Abora boy.
Aboraboy, everyone, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, yes.
Okay. Greetings to everybody here, to all the elders present, and Iya, particularly for inviting me to participate in this casting for for the United States. Just a little bit about myself. So my name's Agbola. Minishin Tuifa Egbe. My elder is Chief Shalagbade Popola. He's the one that I train under. And today I just wanted to share just two messages. So short, to the point. And they're the same two messages I shared in the chat a little bit earlier. And they're the first two things that popped into my head when I saw Otura Meji come out this morning. So I thought I would share those first. So the first one, Ifa says in this Odu, let me recite the verse, Otura Meji. The two elbows cannot be used to place a basket on the ceiling. This was Ifa Kaswa Alukandi, the messenger of Oludumare Agotun, coming from heaven to earth. He was advised to offer Ebo. He refused to comply. Now, here I come, Alukandi, Alukandi. I will kill whoever I like, Alukandi. Behold you, Alukandi, Alukandi. You hold no fear of Oludumare in your heart, Alukandi. So in this particular verse from Otura Meji, there was a messenger called Alukandi, and he was the direct messenger of Oludumare and all the Irumale, and they would always send him to the earth to do so many different types of works, to share messages to the human beings, to help human beings, to assist human beings. Whatever Alukandi would tell the human beings would do it without question. He had that much authority, and it was authority that was given to him by Oludumare and the Irumale. So eventually got to a point where Alukandi realized that despite all the work he was doing, the human beings were getting more love and more care, at least the way he thought, from Oludumare and the Irumale than what he was receiving. And he kept thinking to himself, why is it that Oludumare and the Irumale love human beings so much, despite how much they mess up? They kill each other, they steal from each other, they do so many things to pollute the planet and do so many things that are destructive, but yet Oludumare and the Irumale still love these human beings. And here's me doing my job with diligence, instructing all these human beings on what they should be doing to live right, yet I'm not getting the same type of love back from Oludumare and the Irumale. Eventually, he became envious of human beings, and he began to asked Oludumare and the Divinis to have a special authority, special power over all human beings, more than what he had before. And because he was very diligent in his work, they granted him this power. The next time that he came to the world, he began to punish all the human beings that were not acting correctly. The ones that were lying, the ones that were cheating, the ones that were doing all sorts of things without character. But he was the one being the judge and the executioner. And that's how he was using his authority, his new power. And every 5 days, he would be taking people out. Every 5 days, taking people out. And he created a lot of chaos in the world, a tremendous amount of chaos because of the abuse of his privilege and his authority. Eventually, the elders in these communities got together and they said, we have to do something because this guy is causing a lot of destruction in the human societies, all human societies. So they decided to go and cast Ifa over the situation. And Otura Meji is what was revealed to them. The Awos told these elders that if they could offer Ebo, Eshu would be very essential in supporting them to have victory over this antagonist, this authoritarian figure, basically, Alukandi. So they offered their Ebo. Eshu then went into action and began to organize all the different human communities and told them that in the very next 5th day that Alukandi came, they needed to attack him. And they would have complete power to attack him, that they need not fear anything about Alukandi. So they trusted what Ifa said, they trusted what Eshu was saying. When this 5th day came, Alukandi came in to do his usual destruction and to take people out. But he didn't realize that that very specific day that he showed up, Eshu had also talked to Oludumare and all the Irumale and had told them how he was abusing of his authority and his privilege, and showed them facts about all the things that Lukandi had been doing to cause destruction in the world. So Lurmande Rumla decided to take that power away from him. So when he arrived that fifth day, unknowns to him, he was powerless, completely powerless. When he got there, he began then trying to exercise his force and realized he had nothing. That's when Eshu then told the people, grab him and do what you want with him. And they basically grabbed him and executed him, is what happened. So what Ifa's saying in this particular story, as far as the United States, our government, but this also includes us as citizens, anybody, including our government, as long as we or our government continues to abuse of our privilege, abuse of the authority that we have, not over our own citizens only, but people in the world, is going to come to a point where our government is going to be like Alukandi. We're going to find ourselves in that same situation where we still think we have that same privilege, we still think we have that same authority, and it will be stripped from us at the exact moment where everybody else will then be able to attack us, abuse us, ridicule us, and do whatever they wish to us. So if our government does not wish that to happen, if we as citizens do not wish that to happen in our own personal lives, in our community, and with people from other nations and other groups, ethnicities, we need to be humble. We need to be humble, and we do have privilege, we do have authority, but we need to use it appropriately, or we'll end up getting the same consequence as Alukandi did in the story. So that's the first message that I wanted to share from Otura Meji. The second one that I wanted to share is a story about Orofo, is a type of bird. So this verse says, flippant talks, unguarded speeches, there's nobody that the trap set by the mouth cannot catch. These were Ifa's declarations to Orofo, who shall give birth to 2 children and declare that her home was filled to the brim. She was advised to offer Ebo, she refused to comply. Now the flippant talker killed herself. The unguarded talker dug her own grave. In this story, Orofo wanted to have children. She was struggling to have children. After much time, with no success, she finally decided to cast Ifa. She went to a group of Awo, they cast Otura Meji for her. The Awo said that if you offer Ebo, you will give birth to children. No problem. It'll finally happen for you. But when the children are born, you need to make sure that you do not brag about them, that you don't show off about them, you don't talk arrogantly about the blessings that you had. You need to be very humble, just keep on the down low. It's very important, or else you will end up losing your children. She did not take that advice very well, because she felt that even though she wasn't a mother yet, that when she would become a mother, she knew how to be a mother. And plus, if I give birth to children, I want to be able to show off my happiness and brag about me having children. Who are these owls to tell me that I can't do that? So she got up, didn't offer any Ebo at all, left. Now, she did end up getting pregnant. She did end up giving birth to 2 chicks, to two baby birds, but she didn't follow the advice also that she was given. So she began to brag and show off about, oh, I have 2 children. I'm so proud. They're so beautiful. They're great. I'm so happy being a mother. And then she even said, and not only that, but I have so much food and so much water and so much resources to feed ourselves. And we're so happy. And she just kept talking about all the things that she had to all the other creatures. What happened is that because she was doing this, because she was bragging about all the blessings that she had, all the other creatures began to feel envious and began to feel like, why is it that she has all these blessings, all this food, all this water, all these resources, and here we are starving? We're going on the day to day. We don't even know if we have food the next day or not, because everybody else was lacking so many different things. And here she is bragging about all the things that she has in our faces. So they decided to get together, and they decided that they were going to go to Orofo's house to kill her to care her 2 children, and to collect all these resources, this food, this water, all this abundance that they had for themselves that they were lacking in their own lives. And they, long story short, they did. They went, they killed Orofo, and they killed her 2 children. But when they were there, they ended up realizing that although Orofo did have her 2 children, she actually was exaggerating completely about how much resources and abundance she actually had. She didn't really have anything, very little. And so the meaning of this story is for us, also for our government, but also as US citizens ourselves, is that yes, we do have a lot of resources here. We do have a lot of money here. We have a lot of material wealth. We have a lot of authority. We have all these blessings, just like Orofo had in the story. But none of us should be bragging about all the things that we have, that all the things that we can do, all the things that the blessings that we have in our lives, because this will only cause other people, especially people from other nations who may not have all these same resources, to really despise and hate us, which already is happening anyway. But Ifa says because this Odu came out, it's going to be increasing more and more and more unless the people in our government quit that type of talk. And us as US citizens also be careful not to be talking that way or behaving that way with other people around the world. So those are just the 2 stories that I wanted to share that I feel apply to this situation and our government in particular. Aburaboye.
Ashe. That the Alakandi was one that I was going to share, so I'm glad that you were able
Oh,
to
sorry.
share that. I just wanted to add a little bit that what we have is someone who has a lot of authority. They were given a lot of authority and they abused their power. And they killed a lot of people. They were reckless with their power, and as a result, when the people came together, it required when the people came together that they could come together and do the ebo to address this abuse of power. That abuse of power, they were neutralized and they were able to reign. So not only do I see that in terms of how the United States presents itself, I see that in terms of the executive that is in a White House at this moment, and how that shows up even towards his own people here in the United States. And that some of the things that we're doing, even right now, coming together, we have problems. We need to address those abuses of power, how that is important because we're doing that at Bo as well. But also speaking to abuse of power and how there's been a lot that has gone on regarding even priests abusing power and manipulating power. And so there's an issue with abuse of power across the board, not just with one area, but everyone in positions of power need to look out for those who are underneath and who are subservient to them and not abuse that power, lest they will lose that power. That's all I wanted to say about that. So thank you for sharing that.
Aburaboye, thank you.
Awo Obashina Osarinu. Next. And keep in mind, anyone who wants to speak, if you know how to use the hand raise, then do so. If not, then put it in the chat and I will make sure that I get it out.
Aburaboye, Abashishai. I'm not muted. Okay, good. Want to make sure. Good morning, good afternoon, Ekaro, Ekasan, all. I just wanted to share the verses or some thoughts or some what I have for Otura Meji. It's what I put in the chat, but just wanted to expand on that a little bit. So, Otura Meji, Jinje, Niregu Aborenide, Adifa Fono, Lumila. Ntí kọ́lé ọ̀run mo wá sí ìkọ́lé ayé hùn lọ́wọ́ kí n tó wá ẹ̀gbọ́dọ̀ nídé àjíǹjẹ́ nídẹ́gùn ọ̀gbọ́dọ̀ nídé hùn àláyà hùn àbímọ Huani ide bukbo kintowa egboron onide ajenje nidegun egboron onide. So in this aspect of Otura Meji ajenje nidegun obore oride, divine for Rumilai when he was coming from Ikole Orun to the Ikole Aye, from heaven to earth. Rumilai said, I will have plenty of money before I return. Egboro oriade ajeje nidegun egboro oriade. I will have good luck and blessing of life before my return to Ikole Orun. So, in this aspect of Otura Meji, I'll make the Itan very, very brief. Orunmila chose long life in heaven, and when he came from heaven to earth, his Egbe missed him because he was actually he was the leader of his Egbe. He was one of the administrators, and he was very important to his Egbe. So while he was living his life on earth, his Egbe, they missed him a lot. They really wanted him to come home. So they continually tried to get him to come home. They continually did everything that they can do to get him to come home. However, Rumila went to go and get divination. He was told to just do Ebal and also do other rituals. He complied, did Ebal, and also did his other rituals. And he was able to live his life in full. So our elders, when Otura Meji in this aspect, they say that Ifa sees that we are destined to live good long lives and be blessed, but we are in danger of not living long. And it's very important that we appease Ifa and Eshu so that Ifa may modify our destiny and we may receive protection from Eshu. This also in this verse is talked about how it is the Iami who was the cause of the issues that Orunmila was seeing inside of his life. So as it was earlier said that, you know, it's fitting that this verse supports the earlier messages from Osa Meji that, you know, the work and the connection with the Iami is very, very important. So Ipuesati Iami is advised. And also connection and support and appeasements to Egbe is also important. In this verse in particular, I wanted to relate this to us here in the United States about the important role that Orunmila played inside of his Egbe and how his Egbe really, in the fact that we see ourselves, you know, in today that we have a lot of privilege, we have a lot of opportunity, we have all the makings of very, very good lives. And at the exact same time, while we have all this privilege and all these blessings and all these wonderful things, we literally, you know, live in danger of living short lives because of everything that's going on around us. And how important it is for us as adherents of Onisheshe to work very closely with Ifa and work very closely with Eshu and be praying that our destinies can live out in totality and that our lives are not cut short. Many other aspects talk about the danger of your life being cut short despite all the many blessings that you actually have, you know, due to you in your destiny. And so in this verse, I just wanted to talk about how it's important, especially as we talk about Egbe, how important it is for us here in the United States to organize. As in this aspect, Orunmila was actually the administrator of the Egbe. He was the one who made sure that things ran and ran well. And I think that's what a lot of us are missing. I've seen it said a lot, you know, online in recent months. So I'm really happy that this verse came up because talking about the importance of actually just being able to organize, being able to administer various projects, various institutions, build various things, and be to have the ability to, you know, for us to be able to coordinate various missions for various reasons. and this is from me, so I'll end with this. This is, me speaking. I think that a lot of times here in the United States and diaspora, especially those who are living in marginalized communities, we speak from the sense of we need to unite, and I think that this whole thing about unity is really kind of missed. I don't think that it's really about everybody believing the same thing, being on the same page, as Baba earlier said, like, to be able to do things with people who you don't necessarily even get along with. I think the thing is that we need to change our mindsets to be less focused on making sure that everybody, has these purity tests and everybody believes the same thing. And we need to be more focused on what do we actually need to do, and what is the outcome that we are needing to reach. So with that, I just wanted to give that little insight. I did not place that in my notes, but that part was important. I thought was needed to be highlighted, as it was from the Itan of Arimala being the administrator of the Egbe, and how important it is for us to be able to coordinate and be goal focused and not purity test focused.
Ashe. I agree. Miss Freeman, this is Oloye Irelu.
Yes.
Hold a second.
Yeah, can you all hear me?
Yes. Can we see your video so I can put you in spotlight? I can't put you in spotlight
Hold
without
on.
your video.
Yeah, I cammed up one time, but I have a lot going on in my background. So sorry.
All right. That's all right.
So I may not stay on video for a long time, but because my grandbaby is running around and my
It's
house is
all
not.
right.
I wonder. But anyway, so Otura Meji Abaraboye to everyone. A cliche to my junior brother, Obashina. And so for people who don't know me, I am oh God, I'm a lot of things. Right now I'm just a Nephi, just contributing to this forum, and my Oluwo, I always pay homage to him for my knowledge and my training. Baba Fakayode Fani of Oshobo land, Baba Bonbon of Oshobo land. So that's that. So that's where my training comes from. But in this Otura Meji, one of the aspect talks about people, when this Odu shows up on the mat, that people or the person, well, this community or this country is what we're, to make it make sense, are Ifa foresees every type of E-ray for us this year, according to this Odu. It says that the blessings or the array that we as diasporans will be blessed with will be so extraordinary that everyone around us will use our success as the benchmark, as the standard. And Ifa says that other people will be praying to Oludumare, to all of the Irumale, to the, Orisha, even to their ancestors, to Egungun, to Iami, to any divinity that they can think of, because they're wanting these deities to bless them with some type of irate or some type of blessings. And they will be wanting the same type of blessings that they are witnessing that the people in the diaspora that are operating from this Odu are receiving or experiencing. And so it's just basically just saying that the people who this Odu has appeared for will be the center of attention to a lot of people. And so since that, when you're the center of attention, Ifa says that we cannot afford to be misbehaving or engaging in any form of antisocial conduct. I can go on and on about what's antisocial, but I think we're all adults here and we know what's antisocial, anything, we like to use the words, iwapele, but, and we always describe Iwapele as good character. And then some people will suggest that, oh no, it means gentle character. Regardless whether it's good, whether it's gentle, the character traits or the actions behind one's character, and when they begin to impede on someone else's peace and harmony, as Olodumare intended for all of us, that's when it becomes a problem. So whatever that is, whether that's being late, not being on time for something, or whether that is stealing something out of somebody's purse, it doesn't matter. When the behavior impedes on somebody else's peace and harmony, that's when it becomes a problem. So what Ifa is saying is that we must not behave in any or engage in any form of anti-social conduct, and that's that on that. And so one of the Itan or story behind this, here come my grandbaby. Oh God. One of the stories behind this is about Akala. And Akala was a working owl or babalawo in the land of Ipapo. And he had, I guess, what you will call an oriki, and that oriki pertained to the meaning of the one that causes his own legs to wither away. And so this owl was advising the inhabitants of this town, Iheunje, to do ebo so that all of these blessings that they were looking for would come their way. And so the inhabitants of this land of Iheuje were some very hardworking people. Like they had their own businesses. It was very serious about working to be able to pass generational wealth down to their children. So which is why they spent a lot of time training their children to be hard workers and enterprising like themselves. And so it was very clear. It was very clear that the elders made it very clear to everyone in that town. In order for you to even live in this town, we cannot be successful if everybody is not working hard. There will be no success without hard work, and that should sound very familiar to inhabitants of the United States and other diasporan countries because. Yeah, but it's apparent why these countries exist today because of the hard works of the backs of individuals. So we understood that assignment. So as the story goes, before long, all of the inhabitants of Iheuje accepted this reality that either we're going to work hard or we're not going to be successful. Eventually they visited the home of the Babalawo Akala, I'm sorry, Papo, and they wanted to see him because they said, like, really, what is our potential for becoming successful in life? Like, what are the odds that we will be successful in life? And different people were asking for different things. What if we're looking for financial success? What if we're looking for good spouses? What if we're looking for great children? What if we're looking for honor, chieftaincy, titles, whatever? What if we're looking for just good health, a long life, whatever? Um, what is it that what are we, we're working hard and, we're doing all of these things. But how is it guaranteed that we're going to be able to enjoy the fruit of our labor? So, we're doing all of this, like, are we going to be able to achieve everything that we have in mind? Basically, those are the questions that they took to that Babalawo. And so during that divination session, Otura Meji was appeared on the mat. And so the Babalawo told them that they would achieve everything that they wanted to accomplish in earth, and that even in addition to the things they asked for, the money, the wife, the children, everything, even things that they hadn't even asked for specifically would be added to what they requested. It said that these things, so another note in this story is that these people asked for these things individually, but these things were what am I trying to say? Were distributed collectively in the whole town, right? So even as we're praying this year, just key to note that when you're praying for things individual, what am I trying to say? Individually or independently, those blessings also will be bestowed upon the rest of the people in the community. So anyway, the Babalawo told these people of EAUJ, like, you have to do your EPO to secure all these different types of array that you're asking for. And in particular, the EPO was 16 pigeons and cash and money. And so I'm sorry, guys, my grandbaby is okay. So before long, the people did the EPO, they did comply with the EPO, and before long, everything that they were asking for, money, children, wives, houses, whatever, wealth, just whatever, everything that they desired, they obtained it. Even chieftaincies, whatever they desired, they achieved it. And all of the people surrounding this community or this town of Iehuje were able to see this with their own eyes, the progress of these people, and they began to, of course, pray into Oludumare, Egungun, blah blah blah. And again, we're saying, hey, we want to be blessed with these same things. So what is the biggest lesson here is that there's a duality. There's a duality here. And one thing is doing reading in that boat, doing the spiritual work, having the faith. I know the Christians would say, "Okay, can you take her upstairs to mommy? Tell her I'm on an important call." The thing is, the Christians would say, "Hard work without faith is dead." I think is how it goes. Um, and that's pretty much in a nutshell what Otura Meji is saying there. I know that we have all of these things that we want to achieve for ourselves. If I saying that it's not going to be easy. If we want to be successful, we're going to have to put the work and the effort into all of these things that we are asking for. Some of the things what I always like to do is just try to make this practical for people, common people who will be listening or who will be interpreting this to do, just to give you some practical things or some things to think about. And number one, as I already stated, what is very important is how you treat people, how you handle, other people, like avoiding antisocial conduct. Because in this verse, particularly what Ifa is saying is that your blessings are going to be tied to your behavior. So you're going to get what you give. Is that how you say it? You give whatever you push out, that's what you're going to receive in. If you're giving out goodness, peace, prosperity, if you're giving out that type of energy, that's what you're going to receive back. Ifa says that the people need to be humble, they need to be respectful, and they need to, and I keep emphasizing, morally upright, not antisocial. Morally upright, doing the right things. We have to avoid being arrogant and being just making performing harmful deeds towards other people. And again, back to what I said in the beginning, it's because number one, it's just the right thing to do, and number two, because people gonna be watching us closely based on how we move. And another thing is that for people who are not Awos, who may not understand and interpret or do well, they just, these are just some things practical for them to consider. The people in this town were successful because they were consistent, they were disciplined, and they were committed. And that's what people in the diaspora need to be: consistent, disciplined, and committed. You cannot become, consistency does not mean complacency. It just means is being whatever we do, and especially if it works, we need to continue to do that and not just. And even sometimes when we fall short, we can't say, "Oh, I'm giving up," because consistency is key. And if we practice those three things, I didn't even realize the CDC. That's the doggone place they look at the diseases and whatnots. So we got another acronym, the CDC. If we remember the CDC, not the health one, but if we remember the E5 CDC, consistency, discipline, and commitment, we will be fine this year. Also, for common people who may not really understand or do, Ifa is just basically saying here that our blessings will be exceptional. They will be outstanding, stand out, extraordinary. And again, I already said they'll look at us as a benchmark, model, or something like this. And so, in other words, Ifa is saying that we are going to be influencing other people. Other people will see what the people in the diaspora is doing. It's like, oh, okay, look how great they're living. We might need to try this. And so that's very important. And so, I guess the last thing, well, a couple of things. One thing is we need to make sure that we have to be consistent but spiritually adequate, or whatever word you want to put there, just making sure that we're doing our reading and their bowl, like they call it, spiritual maintenance. That's the word I'm looking for. Because in order for us to be stable, have stable homes, stable life, whatever, our spirituality needs to be stable as well. Um, some other things was to, like, avoid self-sabotage. One of the things about, I call out one of his names, it says the one that causes his wet legs to wither away, is because he learned a lesson. Basically, our legs should be moving. Both of our legs should be moving, and I'm going to break down just a little bit. I'm almost done. What that means for us, and so we have to kind of model with the babalawo, and not allow our legs to wither away, and make sure that we're moving with both legs, which is what his oriki means, the opposite. But we have to manifest the opposite. So we just got to be careful of self-sabotage, avoid pride, carelessness, doing things recklessly, and just any negative habits. Because in Otura Meji, most of the time it's saying that your downfall comes from your own bad choices. And so we have to be cognizant of that. And then lastly, some advice for people just how to move, use their blessings wisely. Like, don't take it for granted. Support your family, support your community when you can. Be a positive example. Your life, your character should reflect gratitude and purpose, and not just making decisions aimlessly or things like that. But overall, Otur Meiji, it's a great Odu. It brings about a lot of powerful, what I would say, promises around blessings this year, but it also carries a lot of responsibility around character. That CDC that I just mentioned is very important. Go away, Morgine, go away. Sorry guys. Basically, again, that's that. So with y'all just don't know. I'm having to chew her away and try to think at the same time. Hold on one second. Hey, somebody come and get her, please, and take her upstairs. This will do. I'll chant some of it. Akala ipapo ni feshe mejeji be kolo mi adifa fun àwọn. Adifa fun àwọn ara ode ile huje. Take upstairs. Ebo one go I say one bebo one rubo. Olowo biara ode lohunje akala ipade ara ode ile huje. Ya ready, and it'll keep going. It'll keep naming all of the array of house, array of children, array of all of the things, and then it ends with talking about akala ipapode araode, which is like akala moves with both legs. So at the end of the story, akala in the beginning is talking about him whose legs he would allow to wither, and then at the end of the verse it talks about him moving with both legs. And so just very important in summary is in the spiritual context of that, when we move with two legs, that means we're taking that it's like we're in dual nature. As I said, the physical is there, the faith is there, that's great, but also you have to be working hard and you have to be behaving. Remember that CDC, make sure that we're grounded, make sure that everything is intact. And then last, I found some of the things that we need to note about some of the things that we should not be doing, some of the things that'll be taboo for us coming from this. It says that we should not be boasting, showing off, or things like that. So in other words, because it's talking about a lot of self-infliction. Don't create enemies, don't make enemies just because. I mean, don't be boasting and showing off and doing things to make people hate us. Also, people with Otura Meji, showing up for them should not engage in excessive alcohol assumption, because Ifa says if we do so, we're going to be working against our own destiny. And that's going to be very important for people, who have who struggle with, and it says alcohol, but I'm going to say excessive drug abuse as well. This is going to be very struggle for people who suffer from this type of addictive personality. And so people going to have to be seeking out for help. And for those in our family or our close friends, when you see it, like see something, say something, or try, because you can't do anything, especially when it's an adult. But at least let the person know that, hey, this is going to be the cause lead you to destruction. But anyway, Ifa is advising us this year not to participate in arguments. So again, inflicting things on ourselves, not attracting, negatively, negative. Someone mentioned earlier about hexes and things coming from people, etc. And so again, if that's the case, then we definitely don't want to cause it to happen. If somebody's doing it, then we are protected. They're just doing it on their own for no reason, no purpose. But we cannot engage in arguments, which we love to do in the United States. We love to say, oh, this ain't a shay, this is shay, this right, this wrong, this look at me, this, that. We love doing that. But if I is telling you not to do it, don't argument. There's nothing to argue over, because when you start attracting the negativity, then that is where we're going to get the negativity. So we really, as a society, need to work on that and focus on what Ifa is saying. There's a taboo here. It talks about a person's daughter should not engage in the same line of work as their mothers, to avoid losing the daughters in succession. My daughter doesn't want to be a teacher anyway, so thank God for that. But just this is not a year to be encouraging your daughter to even, and it just, in other words, our children, especially our daughters in this message, but our children, we need to allow them to follow their own path. If and no matter what that is, whether it's the spiritual path, we need to let them search and find for themselves. Whether it's a career, whatever it is, everybody has their own destiny. Even your own children, they still have their own destiny. Nobody has the same. Nobody came to earth to share destiny with anybody. So encourage our children to plot their own path. Of course, with the support of E5, that's what they practice or whatever. This is a very one that stood out to me. It says we must not change jobs at will, so that you can avoid running ahead of your destiny. So in other words, so if you maybe just say, hey, I don't like this job no more, I'm going to find another job, or another job just sounds so promising to you, and you just go and at your own will and you change job. And that may not be the thing that you needed to do in life to bring prosperity to you and your family. So be careful with that. Hopefully nobody else gets fired this year. Hopefully everybody's job change will be because of promotion, Ashe. And I think, let me see. Oh, no lying. Otura Meji is really don't lie about anything. Just somebody already mentioned not to fast or skip meals or things like that. I think, but there was one thing, because we continue to talk about the United States and our president and all of these other people in political power. Interesting enough, in Otura Meji says one must not place too much emphasis on one's rights to avoid confrontations, not with the politician, but with the elders of the night. Because whether people do not understand about Iami, Oro, and all of those things, those spirits or those entities are also a court. So when you go to Iami, or when you go to Inti and say, hey, I have a right to do this, you better be careful that it's not entitlement and that it really is a right. Because when Iami look at it, right, and they realize that, hey, this is something that you're not entitled to, something you don't deserve, something.
Hello? Hello? Looks like the mic is off or something.
Happen.
We
I
can
don't
no
know what
longer
happened.
hear you. Okay.
Yeah, but
All right.
basically, you're gonna have a problem with the EIME if we start emphasizing this is our right, because Otura Meji says you got to earn it, you got to work hard for it. So be very careful with putting too much emphasis on your rights and put more emphasis on working towards your goals. Ashe, that's it.
Ashe, Ashe. All right. There was someone else that wanted to share. Hold on a second. Let me go back to finding. I don't see. I can see it to be longer. Oh, I don't see the hand raised any longer. All right, so the floor is open now for anyone who would like to share. Abba, hold on. Tony, thank you. I need to. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hear me?
We can hear you fine.
Okay. First, Aboruboye, Iboruboye, greetings to everybody. This has been very, very insightful. My name is Baba Tony Mondesira Cabrera, Awifa Oluwo, Alafumi Fawosumo Funtayo. I'm the Omo Awo, Baba Fakayu Defania, Bongo Awo Oshobu. And Awifa Isheshe Olo Batala, Baba Lorisha Olo Batala Lukumi. And I just would like to share first, thank you. This has been very good. Shared in the last hour and a half. That's very, very helpful for all of us. So I'm glad it's being recorded. Next, I'd like to just share and contribute 3 points, 3 themes, just 3, the big 3. The first is Otura Meji. Otura Meji, and I mentioned this morning, but I've been reflecting for the last couple of hours about Otuara on the right and Otuara on the left. Cool body on the right on the expansive side, cool body on the left on the contractive side. And we can interpret that on the self-care level, that our own bodies and our mouth, we really have to practice coolness. And it's been said in various ways throughout the sharing of knowledge here, wisdom. I learned 45 years ago, Otua Meji, a cool mouth or it's only a madman that rages on. So this is the bottom line with this is with all the intense processes that we as a species are experiencing, some of it gets us mad and upset. And we might speak very strong and sometimes overly passionate and angry about what's going on. And it takes a lot of discipline to have a cool mouth, okay? Or tuara, a cool body, because even getting overheated mentally, overloaded cognitively, we don't want that, okay? And Otura Meji, we can upgrade the idea, the idea of faith, and upgrade it to conviction. Conviction. So faith moves into conviction. It's not blind faith we have. We know, based on Ifa and the wisdom of Irumale Ati Orisha Egungun Egberun, that what will manifest is based on a conviction. We know it's going to manifest. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, the inverse of Otua Meiji is Elemere Meiji. And it was touched upon here how, for example, the men here, all right, we really want to, if we have Orisa Odu it's good that we honor Orisa Odu. Even if it's a Dobale Mofori Bale in our Ile Juba, in our Mojuba, our Ibas, we honor Orisa Odu Modi, especially us men. Okay, and at the same time, Ile Afokoyeri, Mother Earth. We must honor her just within our Iba and our Mojuba, and of course, we want to take it to the next level. You can divine to see what the mothers want. Okay, and with Elemere Meiji, the inverse of Otua Meiji, and it was touched upon here. let's be careful and be nurturing to our legs, especially our left foot and our big toe on the left foot, which grounds us to our maternal lineages, which grounds us to our Ifa and to Mother Earth. So self-care means massaging our legs, especially the left foot, especially the big left toe. Self-care. And in that process of massaging, we could do our prayers. We could do our reflections on the Odu. And it was hinted by Iya there about the withering of legs. We don't want our legs to wither. So we have to direct loving energy to our Elesiotum, Elesiosi. Okay? And the third one, and I'll close with this because this is my favorite. And I offer this to the, quote, community, end quote. And that's unity. See? I embrace my Lukumi Foundation and I embrace my Isheshe Lagba experience. Initiation, Itefa. There's no conflict. All of us know of the polemics and the interesting divisions when it comes to our conversations about, oh, my lineage does this and my identity references that and my regional variants. Oh, unity. And Baba Bola brought it to our attention with Okang. Please forgive me. Okang. Well, you know what I'm talking about. The SA5.
Alukandi.
Aha. Let's look at how the people organized and brought together a unity to exert their sovereignty. Okay? And that's across lineages, identity references, the identity references that are imposed on us, right? And the regional variances that exist in Nigeria and throughout the diaspora. If we call the Almighty, Olodumare, we're family. No matter what region, what identity reference, da. So those are the big three I offer. And I offer it with compassion. I'll end with this. We have to have compassion. That's an exercise that we have to practice because some of the stuff that's going on now makes a lot of us very upset. But if we step back, our souls chose this cycle to incarnate. Now we're in the second quarter of the 21st century. And in my 70 plus years, I have seen tremendous processes of the human condition. And most of you here also. So we have to have compassion. It's a lot of work. But I think through the compassion and the reflection on all the advice given here, we're going to be very successful. So I end with love and compassion for us all. Modupwe, Ashe.
Ashe. Baba. All right. Is there anyone else who would like to share briefly so that we can? In the meantime, then I will I want to share from Awofalo Alashe, who sent this message and he is unable to share because he's at work and not able to talk on the phone or share directly. So I'm gonna just read key points that he made that he wanted to be shared with the community. As I've been told, what the Odu is very important. He wants to look at the current state of the country with all of its political division, social unrest, economic uncertainty, and spiritual confusion. This Odu tells us that America is not being shown immediate destruction. Instead, Ifa is saying there is an opportunity. There is still time. There is a chance for correction. There is a chance to fulfill more of the destiny that the nation was meant to fulfill. How this aligns with the world Odu, Otura Meji. Something else that stood out to me is how beautifully this sign reads with the world Odu. When we first looked at Otura Meji as one of the major themes, We received the revelation of Osa Meji, what Osa Meji uncovers. It exposes, it brings hidden things into light. Whether we're talking about governments, institutions, communities, families, or ourselves, Osa Meji is a way of revealing what has been concealed. It doesn't reveal things to embarrass people. It reveals things because healing cannot begin until truth is seen. Now look at what Otura Meji is saying. Otura is telling us to do what to do once the truth has been revealed. If Osa Meji is the light exposing what has been hidden, then Otura is the wisdom that teaches us how to respond to that light. Osa says, look, and Otura says, choose. Choose truth over deception. Choose integrity over corruption. Choose peace over division. Choose wisdom over reaction. Choose character over reputation. Preservation is still available, and it's still an opportunity in America. There's an opportunity for communities to heal. There is still an opportunity for traditions to mature. There is still an opportunity for individuals to realign themselves with Ori and spiritual law. But that opportunity depends on whether we are willing to respond to what Osa has revealed. Revelation without correction changes nothing. Otura Meji is the call to make those corrections. Taken together, these two Odus paint a complete picture. One reveals, the other restores. One uncovers truth. The other teaches us how to live by it. And together they remind us that truth is never simply given so we can observe it. Truth is revealed so that we can be transformed by it. Otura Meji makes something very clear. Preservation is not automatic. The blessings of Ire Aiku come with responsibility. Otura is an Odu of peace, harmony, truth, honesty, wisdom, and spiritual alignment. But it doesn't come because we ignore problems. Peace comes because we're willing to honestly examine ourselves and make the corrections that need to be made. That applies to a nation, but also to every one of us. No matter how powerful the wicked, the truth can overcome it. The eye of truth is forever. A lie is but a moment. So as a spiritual people, especially those walking the path of Ifa and Orisa, we're not called to contribute more confusion to the world. We're called to become examples of clarity. We're called to become examples of integrity. We're called to become examples of peace. That doesn't mean we stay silent when something is wrong. It means we speak truth without abandoning our character. Otura also places tremendous importance on our words, how we speak, why we speak, the intention behind what we say. For those of us in the spiritual community, Otura is asking us to raise our standards. Followers should become students instead of simply consumers of spiritual information. Don't just repeat what someone says because they have a title. Study, ask questions, learn, develop your own relationship with Ori. Also speaks about leadership is not about collecting followers. It isn't about titles. It isn't about influence. Leadership is about stewardship. It's about service. It's about teaching accurately. It's about helping people become stronger instead of becoming dependent. It is about leaving people with more peace than they had before they came to us. So protect your character more than your reputation, because reputation is what people think about you. Character is who you are when no one is watching. If enough people begin living that way, then the blessings of Ire Aiku is not just something that preserves individuals. It's something that helps preserve families, communities, traditions, and maybe even the nation itself. Real way I wanted to share that. Now, is there anyone else that wants to say anything further? Comment further? Any elders want to speak? No elders want to speak? Well, I want to share it. Go ahead,
Yeah,
please.
yeah, Agboto. I just want to say that I've been involved in organizing efforts for a long time, and this is the first time I felt really encouraged and optimistic. I want to thank everybody for their in-depth contribution. I also want to share that I believe, based on things that I see, that Spirit's trying to communicate things to us. That's part of the meaning of Otura as mystic vision. I think we're getting messages that did not conform with a lot of the the narratives that we're familiar with. I think there's been a lot of mistranslation of our scripture and a lot of imposition of colonialist ideas, and that's being stripped away. And so that can create a lot of dissension and argument and disagreement. And I think we should put that in abeyance, which has been the general theme for this whole session, and really listen to what people are saying and see if it doesn't contribute to the Odu has the keys for survival. If we look at closely, we can use those keys to create an alternative to the chaos and negativity that's going on. I believe that the Odu Ifa contains an ancient science which can really help us survive the coming storm, and I'm grateful to those who share that vision. Ashe, Tom.
Ashe. All right. I believe yeah, Fayomi. She had trouble speaking earlier. I'm looking for her. Yeah, Fayomi, if you're able to open up your mic, please do so. She may not be able to. Oh, okay. She may have had to go. Okay. I want to share really quickly though, there was a survey a few days ago to the community about what their major concerns were. So I want to give a little backstory into some of the things that we discussed prior to doing the divination. And I wanted to identify certain key points as a community, what we were concerned about. And across the board, there were three major concerns that this Odu is speaking to. And the first one was a call for unity, the internal unity and healing and overcoming fragmentation. And nearly every person said the same thing. We need to heal the disunity, the division, and so on and so forth. And that speaks to Otura Meji because many of these things are perpetuated because of differences that we perceive from one another. Who's right, who's wrong, I'm better, you're worse, my side is this, my side is that. And it creates a issue in the community because especially when it's when it's elders arguing and so on, because then it creates a division in the community. And the community we can't stand individually. We have to be able to stand one another. We have to be able to tolerate a difference of opinion and be mature enough to say, we hold a difference of opinion, but I respect you where you are. We don't have to show out and act a fool. We don't have to, that's all ego. We can agree to disagree. We can agree to say, okay, we don't agree on this. What do we have common ground on? Because Otura, if we're going to establish a place of how we bring community together in peace, we've got to do it from a perspective of accepting that there will be differences and also focusing on the bigger picture and it as a whole. I wasn't going to say this, but I'm going to share it really quickly because after the divination, I had to go back and take a nap. And I get a lot of messages in my dreams. And one of the messages that they were saying in Otura Meji, there was a vision of three women. Two were dressed in polka dot dresses, and another one was dressed in a plain dress, and they were standing at a door. And the two women that were in the polka dot dress were they were trying to bully the girl who was in the plain dress and, talk about her and so on as people do. But it turns out they were told, hey, don't talk about this girl because she has the key, right? She had the key to open the door and she did. And it was a very, very quick vision, but it was one of those things that was saying, sometimes differences can help us. It can help expand us. It can open up opportunities for us if we allow ourselves to at least be open. We don't always have to agree to stop bullying people. Stop bullying people, talking about people, the pettiness, whether it's on a short scale or a long scale, it's a problem, and that contributes to the disunity and so on. Everybody has their own walk, even if it is different. The second thing that people were speaking about in the survey was about political protection and urgent external defense. There was a lot of anxiety. There was a lot of anger regarding the positions of the administration and supremacy agendas and the stripping of basic rights and so on. So the need for protection is also there. And the protection is hidden within the how we protect ourselves is hidden within the Otura Meji. As we come together, if egg bays are important, if we have to do things that help us to become self-sufficient within our own egg bays. And when I say egg bay, I am not just speaking of egg bay in the spiritual sense. I mean those groups of people coming together to work together, cooperative partnerships, mutual aid societies, communities, and so on, where we help support one another. Those are the type of things that help to build a safety structure. There is also strength in numbers in that regard. So these are things that have to come into play. Protection also was a very big concern with regard to violence against particularly Black men, and incarceration, violence against women and children, abuse, trafficking, and those people who mysteriously go missing. These are things that also came up as major community concerns that need to be addressed as we come together. These are things that I'm just bringing up in mind. Economic sovereignty, as well as infrastructure and circulating wealth, people indicated the community's massive collective spending power, and calling for revamping of the marketplace and how we do things. So as these concerns are also, there were also other clarified points. I'll share that probably with the document that comes out for the messages. There will be a document that comes out, but I wanted to share that because these are all things that are of foremost concern for a good portion of the community. We didn't survey everybody, but the ones that we did, this is coming out of that. Anyone else have any Odus versus Itans, Patakis to share regarding Otura Meji? Don't even know what time it is. What time is it now? It is time to end this, isn't it? All right. We're going to go ahead and close this out, this session out. I do want to let everyone know that we have gotten the donations. The abos are being done immediately after this session, if they haven't already begun starting for this Odu. We do appreciate everyone who has contributed and those who wanted to but were not able to contribute. We appreciate and honor each of the elders that contributed, that supported, that shared messages, that offered wisdom, either here before or in the groups in terms of advice, because different ones have different approaches to how they contributed and helped. And we can't necessarily put everyone there, but we do appreciate everyone who has done so. I'm grateful. I want to say I'm really, really humbled and grateful that all of you could come together. This was not something that I intended to do in bringing people together in this way, but I'm grateful that we could come together as a bridge, that we could open up the dialogue, that we could come together for this, at least this one thing, so that we can put aside some differences. I think that the embodiment of our coming together for this particular thing in and of itself is a manifestation of Otura Meji. We had to put away our differences in order for us to stay focused on what we are we're trying to do on a greater picture. And we've been able to do that. So showing that we've been able to do that, let's take that out into the world. Let's take that out into our communities. And so on. Open up dialogue. It's not this or that. It can be this and that. Two truths can exist simultaneously. Two things can be true simultaneously. I appreciate each and every one of you. One last time, this is your moment. If you have something to say and you haven't said it, And you don't sit there. Do not just sit there. Oh, all right. Adabo, everyone. We give thanks to each and every one of you. Aburu, Aboye, Aboshishe.